What's up, guys, and welcome back to another video live. And you are with the Ember Family Entertaining EFE Squad 7. And I am here today with another profound self-made author, Mr. Greg Funderburg. I'll be bringing him up shortly. So, guys, before we get started, I want you guys to make sure you guys do not forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to this channel. Now, guys, I'm going to tell you a little bit about him before we bring him up. This is someone basically from this hometown that we live in Sylacauga. And, you know, he's younger than I am, but a very outstanding individual. And he have so much success upon his belt. And, you know, I want to be like him when I grow up. You know, I mean, I might have to back up in age a little bit, but I still want to try to be like him when I grow up. So it's good. It is really good. And what I wanted to do is to kind of showcase a lot of the young Black, entrepreneurs that's doing big things, because I feel like having a panel such as this, you know, it's very important for us to be able to exercise that and, you know, utilize that in a good, positive way. So I wanted to get on here and, you know, showcase that with Mr. Funderburg. And I'm glad that he was able to, come in and share some time with us. And also, guys, make sure that you guys, if you have any questions whatsoever, when you come into the live, feel free to ask any questions that you have. I can assure you, Mr. Funderburg would be more than happy to answer your questions. If you have any questions whatsoever for Mr. Funderburg, and we're going to allow him to tell you a little bit more about himself once we bring him up on the panel. So we are going to hold the time up. I'm going to go ahead and bring him up. And we just basically gonna go ahead and get right on into it. So let's go ahead and get Mr. Funderburg up here. All right, Mr. Funderburg, you got me?
Yes, sir. How's it going?
Oh well. Once again, thank you for being here on this evening. I know that you probably had a busy schedule ahead of you today, but I want to thank you and appreciate you for being here to spend a little time with us today.
I am honored. You know, it has been a busy day. You know, working morning TV news, my alarm clock goes off at 3 in the morning. But this morning I got up at like 1:30 for some reason.
Oh, wow.
But you know, I've been moving, I've been going, a new book out on top of my regular job. So it's been busy. But you know, I'm gonna have to say this. I truly love what I'm doing, and God has truly blessed me in this season.
Awesome. And that's one thing about it is, and don't you get me started with the God thing, because I pushed that heavy, man.
I talk about it all the time.
I'm telling you, it's a good thing. And anybody on YouTube that watch our channel, they can tell you, man, I can attest to that, boy. Once you get him going, whoo, I love talking about it, because you have a lot to be thankful for, man. You really have a lot to be thankful for. So being on here, man, tell us a little bit about yourself, man.
You know, I grew up in Sylacauga, Alabama, but where I grew up, I went to school in Childersburg, but we had a Sylacauga address. But I grew up in Childersburg, graduated in 2002, and I went to Central Alabama Community College on an ambassador scholarship, transferred to the University of Montevallo, graduated from the University of Montevallo in May 2006. And then about 2 months later, I got my first job in TV news, full-time working in Columbus, Georgia, my first TV market. Left there, went to Greenville, South Carolina for 3.5 years. And then 8 years ago, I moved to Chattanooga, Tennessee. I anchor the morning show. And, you know, my plan, Grover, was to be here for 3 years, but God had a different plan. So I can talk more about that a little bit later, but I literally had to just adhere to his plan and not focus on what Greg wanted to do. And so I'm learning in this season that God had me here truly for a reason. And so everything that is happening right now in my life, I'm grateful that I have spent this time being in this city. But more importantly, I think about, you know, everything I've gone through in my life is because of my parents, my grandparents, and uncles and aunties and cousins. People, it truly takes a village to raise a child. So I'm
Yes.
so grateful for family to help mold me into the person I am today.
Awesome. Awesome. Now, with you being in, you said you're there in Tennessee. You said, what part of Tennessee you say you're in?
Chattanooga, Tennessee. So it's about 2 hours and 45 minutes from Sylacauga.
Awesome. Awesome. Now, tell us the big difference between, does it feel more like home up in Tennessee, Chattanooga and Sylacauga? Does that kind of, run hand in hand with each other?
I'm gonna be honest, it has been truly like home. When I first got here, you're still learning a new TV market, meeting new people. But the way things have worked out, I have a great church family and I've met some amazing people in this city. So it's like home.
Okay.
Of course, but I have cousins here in Chattanooga, Tennessee,
Okay.
away from home. So it's really cool to be in a place where you can turn to people who and family members. But more importantly, I've met so many people, so it's really become like home away from home. But the really cool thing about being in this part of the region of the country, I should say, is if I needed to go home for some reason, it's just a hop, skip, and away, and I can get there.
Got you. Got you. And that's awesome, man. And like you said, it's always good to be able to be in a position where if need be, you need to get home. You don't have to worry about making all these big plans to, get home, or so much time on the road, or getting an air flight and so forth, riding the bus. So that's a big convenience for yourself, on top of that. Now, you're in the news, being a news anchor as well. Tell us a little bit about that. What, what persuaded you, or what actually caught your attention and pushed you toward being a news anchor?
To be honest with you, I news found Greg Funderburg. And I actually, when I was a kid years ago, I wanted to be a mortician. So when I was a kid, true story, I would take little toys from, different, fast food restaurants, and I would put them in little boxes with my cousins. So I had a cemetery at both grandmother's houses, and I had a cemetery at my parents' house. So I would literally take toys and we would dig a hole and we would have a funeral for the toys.
Oh, wow.
And so I don't know if I used to see dead people as a kid, but that's what I wanted to do. And so I remember years ago, I told my younger brother, I said, you're going to work for my funeral home one day and you're going to drive the hearse. And he was like, I ain't driving no hearse. So the way the Lord would work things out, I ended up taking a totally different path. He took a totally different path. He works for AT&T. But the really crazy thing about the whole story is he married a girl back home in Sylacauga. Her father owns a funeral home, Mr. Jimmy Odom.
Yeah.
And now he helps out at the funeral home. So I think I've spoken to his life early on. He just didn't know it at the time.
Oh, wow. Wow. That is awesome, man. I can only imagine somebody cutting grass and then finding holes with boxes.
But, I thought that's what I wanted to do until when I was a kid. I'll never forget my maternal grandmother. I was at her house, on a weekend visit. And I told her one time, I said, my mom's a registered nurse. And I said, Dr. Funderburg just doesn't sound right. And so she said, yeah, it does sound kind of funny. She was like, maybe you could be like Brian Gumbel on the Today Show, because my grandmother loved Brian Gumbel. However, at the time, I'm looking at her like, I'm shy. I don't talk in front of people. I don't want to be Brian Gumbel, like whatever. So she knew something I didn't know at the time. And so Fran Curry at the NBC affiliate in Birmingham, Alabama, spoke at the Upper Bound program where I was at Central Alabama Community College. So this is in the summer of 2000. I am getting ready to go into my junior year, still trying to figure out what I wanted to be or what I wanted to major in when I went to college. And Fran's speech just resonated with me. And I was so inspired. So after the speech, I went up to her, got her phone number, called her months later. She invited me to the station. I got a chance to see the live element of TV news, and I never looked back. And so I decided to go to college, majored in broadcast journalism, and found a job, and the rest is history. So I tell people, truly, I'm living my dream every day.
Awesome. Awesome. And, and I can commend you on that because, like I said, I follow you on, Facebook, of course, several of the accomplishments that I've seen and, seeing you've actually come through. And, my hat's off to you, and may the Lord continue to bless you in your endeavors on that. Now, let me ask you this, and I want you to be honest with me.
Okay.
Far as being into the news career of things, how is it far as on the, I would say, for a young black man being successful coming up in the news industry, such as what you're doing, how tough is that trying to get, ahead with that?
Being in the news industry, it's very difficult. And when I say difficult, it's a very competitive industry. However, when you think about it, there's a lack of different minorities. So when you think about in the news industry, there's a desire and a push for African American males. You need Asian, Latino, so many different like ethnic backgrounds that we truly need in the industry to show that the country is truly diverse. And so a lot of stations are working on that whole diversity factor right now. So I've been truly blessed to be in this position where I am. And I tell especially minority kids, if you're black, Asian, Latino, different races, it is so important that you seek out different areas in the country because people are desperately looking for people who are different because they need to show the diversity factor within their stations. But for me, I've had ups and downs in my career, but when I think about those ups and downs, I feel like God allowed certain things to happen in my career to get me to where I am today. Because if it were not for the obstacles along the way, it would not have prepared me for the moment in which I am now. So now I anchor the morning show Monday through Friday and the noon show. So like I said, there's been like difficulties in my career leading up to this point, but I'm grateful for everything that has happened because it really helped mold me into the person I am today to be able to handle the things that come along with, being on the anchor desk. Because when you're here, you probably have seen, you get negative comments. People say, oh, I don't like this, I don't like that. But, it has been a blessing that I've been able to go through so many other things leading up to this moment. So the little small stuff that people may throw out at you, it means nothing. And you just keep going.
Gotcha, gotcha. And I'm quite sure it does helps allow you to build up tough skin and to develop tough skin with dealing with such things as that. Now in that case, far as you having to go through so much, has it been at any given point in your career that you wanted to just kind of throw in the towel and change total different directions?
My first job in Columbus, Georgia, I wanted to give up and quit. When I was in Greenville, South Carolina, I had a moment I wanted to quit. Since I've been here in Chattanooga, I had a moment I wanted to quit. But every time I have wanted to quit, I would sit down and write down the pros and the cons of why I was feeling that way and why did I get into this. And so when I think about the why I got into wanting to be in TV news, it is all because I wanted to truly make a difference in the community. I really wanted to really be that face that little boys who look just like me, they can look up and say, you know what, I see, Greg Funderburg on TV. I can be just like him. So when I remember back when I was in high school, I looked at Fran. She was from Talladega County. She was on television. I said, I want to be just like Fran one day. And so I can be that example for so many other young people. And I've been so grateful that God has allowed me to use this platform for a greater good and to encourage and to motivate so many other people. So when I think about quitting, I truly think about, my grandparents and people who helped mold me into the person I am today. And, when I think about like voting rights, I'm gonna be honest with you. I was thinking about this last year when a lot of this came to head during the 2020 election, or a couple of years ago in the 2020 election. I remember thinking about my grandmother, my dad's mom. She was born in 1928. So at 18 years old, she didn't have the right to vote. My mother's mom was born in 1940. And so when she turned 18 years old, she didn't have the right to vote. So when you think about these women who cleaned houses, did domestic work to help take care of their families, and all of the obstacles that they went through and the obstacles that my ancestors went through. So I thought about, why would I give up and quit? So Grover, I truly said, you know what? If God can carry them and their family members, my family members, through those turbulent times in history, I need to stick this out and be what I want it to be and not give up because it's getting hard, it's getting tough. So when I think about every time I go into the studio here in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and that animation rolls every day, Monday through Friday, you're watching Good Morning Chattanooga with Greg Funderburg, Jessica Harthorn, whatever. So when I hear my name, I think about my parents, my grandparents, and so many other people who helped me get to this point. So I'm not coming to the station just as myself. I'm coming with grandparents who have gone on to the other side, who are watching over me daily. I'm bringing, other family members who are on the other side watching me. So I think about all those people who helped mold me into the person I am, and I stand on their shoulders to continue to help the next generation. So that's the most important thing, that I can use this platform for greater good.
And that's an awesome thing, Greg. I do appreciate it. And the one thing about it is, it's one thing when people say this, but it's another when people actually do this. And I can honestly say, even with just communicating with you, reaching out to you, exactly what you're saying is who you are. Because once I reached out to you about doing the interview, there was no hesitation whatsoever. It literally excited me to the point of like, man, I can't mess this up. I gotta make this happen. And one thing about us a lot of times, I'm just be honest with you, being a little comical, Black folks have prepared for stuff a lot of times. They just rush stuff and they don't be ready, and at the last minute putting stuff together. But I wanted to make sure that I was on top of things with this situation, because I really admire you, especially being a young Black man doing what you're doing. And that in itself, I commend you for it. Because see, like I said, you're here in this from the local area, and it's people like yourself need to be put out front and center and acknowledged more, especially even in this town. And you know what I'm saying? Between this town, Childersburg, it needs to be recognized more and more, because a lot of times we're acknowledged for playing sports, if that makes sense. Excuse me. But so many times we'll acknowledge so much for playing sports. But when it comes to just making educational moves and doing big things that makes a big difference in our neighborhoods and our community, you don't hear about it that often. You don't hear about it that often. And, and with you and Corey and many others that I'm going to try to reach out to, that's one reason why I said, not long ago, on this YouTube channel, my platform, I'm going to try to make my voice count. When I get on here, I want to make a difference in what I'm putting out, what I'm doing, because it reflects on me. It reflects on me. And I want to be able to reach someone where if they walk out and they see a Greg Funderburg, boom, you know what? I heard about you. You're the guy I seen on YouTube. And, and it helps a whole lot, especially as positive as you are. Now tell me this, leading up to that. I know that you face a lot of scrutiny and a lot of negative people that try to tear you down. How do you handle that on a daily basis, especially coming through, like you said, comments, or even people that that does not have your best of interests? How do you handle that internally?
At 37 years old, I know who I am, and I know what I do and what I bring to the table. I was told years ago as a young journalist, keep your closest friends close. And so a lot of my close friends in my world today, or a lot of those friends are still my closest friends. And I think about like my best friend, Yvonne Bardwell, back home. We went to elementary together, middle school, high school, and we're still friends today. And I keep my circle close, because those people keep me grounded, and they lift me up when I may be down, and they help me in different ways, and more the ways in which you could ever imagine. But even with all the stuff that is going on, that people can be negative, I always remember who I am, and I don't worry about what other people have to say. So at 37 years old, now when I was in my 20s, I used to always worry about what people had to say. And, people have to say, or family members or other people, because you always want to please other people around you, if it's family, friends, or whatever. But at 37 years old, I'm at a place where I really don't care what people have to say, because I know what I do. I know what I give back to the community. And so I don't worry about the negative comments, because, so many people worry about the negative. And I always tell people it is so important that you focus on what you're doing, because if you're not focused on looking forward and being attentive to what you're doing, and you're looking to the left and looking to the right and look to all these different places where people are saying different things, you get sidetracked and you can stumble and fall.
Exactly.
But if you keep looking forward, you don't have to worry about that. So like when people throw things at me that's negative, I don't let it bother me, because I know who I am. I know what I'm doing. I know the impact I'm making. I know the importance of what I'm doing, and I don't worry about the negativity. So I just push it aside.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that's one of the things that we do have to focus on. We have to understand that, and just understand the negative. Actually, you can allow it to break you down or make you stronger.
That's true.
And that's one of the biggest things that is, that I harp on a lot is, people gonna say what they're gonna say regardless. I mean, it does not matter how good you are to them. And regardless, they're gonna have something to say. They're gonna have something to criticize you about.
Everybody's got something to say, and I stress this to a lot of young people I mentor. Don't worry about it. It's not important. It's not going to matter tomorrow. It's not going to matter in 2 weeks. And so, people are going to say things. People may say something that is completely just not true. And, I just let people say it, because I know God, my faith is so strong right now. And a lot of people may find that shocking. But I feel like, I was always brought up in the church as a kid.
Yeah.
But at the age that I am now, my faith is so strong, and I continuously pray and meditate. And, I'm so grateful for what God has done for me, that I can't allow, God has brought me so far. And if I tell you some of the things that I've gone through, we'll be here all night. But I just want to say to folks watching this program that, you look at me and you can see all the positive things and the accolades, which are wonderful. But, I've gone through times where I was depressed, I was sad, and I put on this front that I was happy, because, that's what I'm taught. Being in the public eye, you smile and do all these wonderful things. But in 2018, I went through a very difficult time. I was depressed. I had went through a part, I was mentally, emotionally, and spiritually at a low. And when I talk about being at a low, Grover, I was in a place where I was ready to say, you know what? When I think about the little girl, Miss USA from 2019, and I think about, how, she just recently committed suicide.
Yes.
And it's such a heartbreaking story. So when I look at stories like that, and I look at other people's stories, and I think that could have been Greg Funderburg. That could have been me. That was me in 2018. But I'm so grateful that God sent the right people, the right friends around me to motivate and to encourage me, because at that time I was like, I've done all these wonderful things, and I'm grateful and I'm blessed, but I just don't, I feel like I have no purpose, and I don't feel like I don't want to be here anymore. And so I want to encourage anyone out there who is feeling down and sad, find you a therapist, a counselor, someone you can confide in. And, being in the Black community and in the Black church growing up in Alabama, you're always taught to pray it away. And that is important. We should pray, but also you got to find the help that you need. And I'm so grateful that I was able to find that help. I have a friend of mine here locally. I call her my spiritual advisor, my Chattanooga grandmother, Ernestine Carter. She really helped push and motivate me, prayed for me, encouraged me. It's like both of my grandmothers, May Florence Funderburg passed in 2015, Marie Brown passed away in 2014. It's like they came together in heaven and found Mrs. Carter and sent her to me when I needed her the most. Mm-hmm. And so I just want to I stand here to tell people, you look at me and say, he hasn't been through too much. I've been through a lot. But I just want to encourage people, if you are down, because, so many people are hurting right now. So many people are sad, depressed, don't feel motivated. And you just have to get the help you need. And I stress that, I push that. And some people may say, Greg, that may not be the thing that you should push, but I totally push making sure you take care of yourself. Because Grover, I'm gonna tell you this, for years, I was pouring into so many people's cups. Greg's cup was empty.
Empty.
Completely empty. But I never took the time to fill myself back up. So in 2022, I make sure that I'm still pouring in other people's cups, but I'm still making sure I take that moment to take a step back and fill myself back up.
And that's I mean, I commend you for that. And I pray the blessings of God and the blood of Jesus continue to cover you. Because like you said, especially mentally drained and spiritually drained, that pretty much is at the bottom of the barrel at that point. Mm-hmm. Because if you are not mentally together and you have no spiritual faith to even hold on to, it's like being out at sea with no life jacket.
I agree.
I mean, it's like at any given point could be the end. And see, people have to understand, all because you have faith and you do have a, like you said, religious background, come up, that does not mean you're not going to face some tough issues, some tough times in your life where it's going to put it to test. And you have to surround yourself. And me and my wife talk all the time pertaining to that. You have to surround yourself with positivity that's going to help to keep your spirit uplifted. Because, see, believe it or not, if you're too busy pouring into everybody else, never positive, trying to, motivate them, and nobody's never pouring into you, or you're not taking time for yourself, I mean, that smile that's being kind of put on, I mean, behind closed doors, you're breaking down every single night. Yeah. Every single night, trying to figure out, how am I going to get through this next day?
And to be honest with you, when you think about it, people look at me and they saw me on TV, and I would get up, go to work, go to the makeup room, cry, put on powder, go to the set, smile for 4.5 hours, leave the set, cry all the way home, go back to work, do the noon show, and then go back home and cry and go to bed. And that went on for weeks and months. And, only a few people knew what was truly happening and why, what was going on in my life at the time. But and people may say, why would you share something like that publicly? I share that story because as a person in the public and a person that is out there doing, this place and going this place and hosting and speaking, I want to be that person who can encourage someone that there is help available. You are not alone. You are not crazy. You're just going through a tough time and you need someone to talk to. And so I just want to encourage people, I'm shouting from the hilltops. Feel free to find the help you need because you deserve that. You deserve to take care of yourself because, a lot of moms say, I don't have time because I'm taking care of kids. I'm taking care of a spouse and, same things for a dad. But at the end of the day, if you don't take care of yourself, you can't adequately take care of your children, your family, and so forth. So you have to take care of yourself.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm going to tell you something too. People have to understand God bless us with different gifts. God bless everybody with a different talent. And we should understand that like what you're saying, to piggyback off what you're saying, praying is one thing, but getting help that you need for yourself is another. And that's the reason why God have blessed people with so many different gifts and, anointings to be able to relate or be able to talk to people to help people through these situations in these hard times. And see, us being, especially, I'm going to just speak it the truth. Black males are very, very least to actually ask for help. We do not want to have anyone telling us we have a problem. Yeah. We do not want to open up to anyone. Why? Because we are taught, like what you said, pray, be strong. You have to be strong all the time through all of your situations Be strong, tough it out. You ain't a man if you break down.
Yeah.
That's a lie. That's a lie. And we are breaking down every single day. But the way we're breaking down, we may not kill ourselves, but we're finding alternatives to continue killing ourselves internally.
Yeah.
And that could be domestic violence. That could be getting strung out on some type of recreational drug. It could be becoming an alcoholic. It could be basically isolating yourself away from your family. It could be anything that's destroying you. But until we really confess and see this whole situation, that being a man does not mean that you cannot open up. And we as Black men, we have to understand that we can open up. We can be true to someone that we feel that we can trust. But you have to know who you can trust. You have to be able and willing to open up to somebody, because, I mean, and it's tough when you're thinking, I can't trust anybody. I just don't believe this person. You know, I don't want to talk to this person. That's when it turns to the Lord, and you have to pray and ask God to lead you. Lead you in the right direction. And I see you on several occasions. Like I said, I've seen you on Facebook, and I've seen your all your accolades and stuff like that. And to be honest with you, I couldn't help but to think and know he's been through his trials and tribulations to get through to this.
You know, when you talk about that, when I was Mrs. Carter, the I call her my Chattanooga grandmother. When I felt like when God sent me to her, I felt like my grandmother sent her to me in 2018. And so when I tell you, this woman has prayed with me, encouraged me, motivated me, and I look back at that time 4 years ago, and I look at where I am today. I have so much peace in my life, and I'm so happy. And the little things that people may say, whether it's friends or family or whoever, the little things that people may say, it does not faze me one bit. Because when I tell you, I sat across from this woman's table, and I told her, she was like, what are your dreams? What are your aspirations? And I said, back then in 2018, I said, I've always wanted to write a children's book, but I never had the time. And I look back and I said, you know, years ago, I used to say, God, why am I in Chattanooga so long? And I've been here 8.5 years. And so during this season of my life, I went through a season where I was just down and out, what I told you about early in 2018. But I look at how God used this season to help mold me and prepare me for whatever is to come. So the little things that used to bother me, they don't bother me anymore. My spiritual level is just on an all-time high. Meditating, praying, you know, helping people, motivating people. That's always been my mission of what I've done. But look at God and how he brought me so far over the past several years. And that goal of writing a children's book finally happened in 2020. And so it came out on March 1st, earlier this month. And so this is the beginning of a children's book series. And I look at it and, you know, people say, I bet you wish you would have done this a long time ago. And I told them, I said, it came out in the right time, because Grover, when you think about it, all the accolades and things that I've had in this season of my life, when it comes to, you know, being voted best of the best TV personality in Chattanooga and all the other things that have come, God allowed me to go through the difficult season to be brought to a complete low and building me back up to be the person that I am now. And so when I look at the person I am now, when I look in the mirror at the person that I am now, I'm grateful. I am so blessed. And I think about, you know, the things that I've gone through, and now I can share the story and tell people what I've gone through. And I just want to, you know, always, anytime I can tell people what I've gone through, I want to help other people, because like you said, a lot of African-American men just do not go and get the help they need. And so I want to be that person. If I need to be that example, whatever it is, go get the help you need. If that's, and you know, you don't have to be all open about it. Even when I've gone to therapy because I'm on TV and I don't want to sit in a waiting room, and they make it, you know, however you need it, they will slip me in the back door. Nobody ever knew I was in the building. Slip me in the back door. Nobody was in the hallway. They slipped me in and slipped me out. And so nobody knew. And I'm just so grateful that they were able to make those accommodations. And I tell people all the time, people can make those accommodations for you. You just got to ask.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Now, far as, and we're gonna get into your book here shortly. Far as your business life, and I have to ask this because you know you're mentioning it so much. How are you able to balance your business life along with your your personal faith? How are you able to balance that and still maintain a strong faith?
To be honest with you, when you think about my faith, the faith is who I am. And so years ago, I started on my Facebook fan page. I would put like quotes out there, and people, I did it for 2 weeks just to do it. And then I stopped. And then I got these messages like, why did you stop the quotes? And so it's become a thing. And so I openly talk about my faith when I'm in speaking engagements and hosting and wherever I am. Sometimes it slips out on TV. And you know that I used to be afraid because I don't want to offend anybody, but it's okay. And so I allow that person to come out because at the end of the day, it's the core of who I am. That is how I was raised. I may not go to Sunday school at 37 years old, but I was in Sunday school religiously
I know
when I was
that's
a
right.
kid. But I still go to church. I'm not in there virtually. I'm not in there, excuse me, in person because of everything with COVID. But going virtually, seeing the sermon, I share quotes, I share spiritual things. Joel Osteen, whoever, I'll share it on my social media pages because at the core of who I am, that is just who I am. There have been times I've been out with people in public and I'll stop and I'll say, well, you want to pray? We can pray because that's just who I am. The same person you see on TV is the same person you get in real life. And so I allow, because God has been so good to me in my life, I never shy away from my faith. I'm never ashamed of it. I talk about it. It's just who I am. They intertwine and mix in the same world. So when I think about people when they bring me to come speak at their school or church or whatever, they're bringing Greg. And a lot of people who have watched and followed me, they already know Greg's faith is a big part of who he is. So if you're going to ask for Greg to come, the faith is coming too.
There you
Regardless.
go. There you go. And see, to be honest with you, I'm gonna just be honest with you. That's what has connected me even better with this interview. Because see, I'm a strong person of faith.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the Lord, I do not care how anybody else look at it. When I can feel that spiritual connection within a person, at that point, then I feel that that's the right moment. That's the right thing at that point. And see, with the way we're talking right now, it has really made me feel in tune with the whole entire interview because it's so much that you've mentioned that only the Lord knew that needed to come out.
And
And with
oh, go ahead.
Go
Go
ahead.
ahead.
And see, with the fact that several people are watching, there's that one person that heard what you said, especially about mental illness or going through mental issues. And so, with you speaking that in itself can resonate with someone. They can see an individual such as yourself, so successful, witness to having to go through these things. I mean, this person, he's a news anchor, and he's admitting that he went through a mental breakdown pretty much, and he had to get help. So why am I ashamed to get help? I can get help too, and that testifies to someone else because everything that we've went through and we're here to this day, it's not for us. It's for us to be able to testify to somebody else to
Yep.
help them to come along the way. And that in itself is I mean, that's an honor for you, man. I tell you, you're a blessing to mankind to be able to have made it this far and to still to be able to lift the name of the Lord up like you do and to
Mm-hmm.
testify and letting everybody know. If it wasn't for him, that neither one of us would be here.
That's
you know,
true.
and and that's just the way it is, man. That's just the way it is. Now, leading up to your book, Here we go. Here we go. I congratulate you on your book, and I am so excited for you. And I seen the top of Jeremiah, and I was just like, oh my God. I said, you can tell he put himself into this. You can just look at the little character on the front.
Yeah. So this is Jeremiah's New Beginning.
Yeah.
And I will say this is written by me, illustrated by Donald Wilson II. And Donald Wilson is he's a teacher in a school system outside of Columbia, South Carolina. So when I talk about the story, somebody's asked in the chat, how long did it take you to write the book? It took me about 3 months to work on the book. And that was including editing and finessing and letting some of my friends with kids read the book before there were any illustrations to give their feedback and made some changes. But when I was starting to write this book, it had a completely different name. And so Jeremiah Madison, I've always wanted to write a story with those names. So I always said when I was in my high school and college years, if I ever had kids, their names would be Jeremiah Madison. So at 37, Jeremiah Madison are not here yet. So they were officially born on March 1st of this year in the form of a book.
Wow.
And so when I think about Jeremiah's New Beginning, it's the twins, they're twins. They're in third grade. They're going to a brand new school, but this school is really cool. They rap, they dance. They're doing so many like fun things that they're like, are we really in school? But they're truly learning, and they're sitting on stability balls in the classroom. There's a reason for that. And it's a kid's chapter book. It's 6 chapters. And the really cool thing about the book, Grover, is at the very end, the kids in the local classrooms, wherever they are, or at home with their parents, they can write chapter 7. So they can determine from their own imagination, how do they want to see the Jones family evolve into chapter 7 after the end of the book. And so the goal in this is really to get kids to start thinking about healthy eating, think about Brussels sprouts and asparagus, things I had never heard of growing up in Sylacauga, Alabama. If you come to the cookout with some asparagus, look at you side-eye.
Exactly.
So it's been so much fun to do it. I wrote the book in 2020 at the beginning of the pandemic. So at the beginning of the pandemic, I was like, what in the world am I going to do? Like, I'm always speaking and hosting and doing so many things. And it's like God just shut the whole world down and there was nothing to do. And I said, wow, I am going to take the time and write this book. I have this time. And I talked to friends and coworkers, and they said, this is the time that God gave us. What are you going to use this time to do? I cleaned out closets. I cleaned out my trunk. I cleaned out so many different things. And finally, I had the time to sit down and write the book. And so I was looking for an illustrator, ran across several different illustrators. And then a friend of mine connected me with Donald Wilson II at the end of last summer. And when I saw his illustrations, I said, this is the person that is supposed to be with me on this project. And I'm going to tell you this, actually months before I had started working with Donald on the illustrations, God showed me the cover of the book, but he only showed me the writing of the book. And the writing of the book had yellow writing at the very top, but I could not see the image on the page. So back in December, I was home in Alabama with family at the time. I get an email from Donald. He says, hey, I put the cover in the Google file. So I go into the Google file, look at the cover, and I look at the cover and I saw the yellow writing.
Wow.
Here. And it was like seeing this, I said, he was the right person to be on this journey with me in this season. And so when I think about it, this is something I've always wanted to do. And I've always wanted to write a book for kids of all ages, of all races, especially those little boys who look just like me. We've seen so many children's books that have come out, over the years. But I wanted to begin a book series where kids can really get a chance to see themselves in the story. And so when I think about it, and Grover, I'm going to wrap up here. I was reading the book to some kids in the past couple of weeks, and there's a part in the book when the mom says, Jeremiah, don't make me come up those stairs. And every time I'm in the classroom with different kids, these kids, the one kid blurted out, Jeremiah about to get a whooping.
Oh, Lord.
Jeremiah is about to get slapped in the mouth. But, he really wasn't about to get slapped in the mouth. But kids can relate, and they understood, like when they hear that voice. And I'll ask, what does that mean when your grandmother or mom or auntie say, you better get out that bed, don't make me come in there? And they're like, that means I got to get up, and I better get up fast.
Exactly. Well, we have a question here. It said, what is the most valuable piece of advice you've been given about writing?
The most important thing about writing is just be yourself. I thought about when I was writing this book, I wanted to make sure that the story was vivid and little kids could understand the story. They could understand and they can put themselves into Jeremiah's shoes and see what it was like to be at his particular school. And so that's some of the best thing I can say about it is, and I can also tell people, for people that are saying they want to write, just take out your computer, take out your tablet or pen, whatever, and just start writing. And you can go
Gotcha.
back and edit the story later, but just start getting your thoughts on paper. That's the most important thing just to get started.
Just get started. And that's the way it normally begins. You just get going. Once you get cranked up and you get to rolling, before you know it, you looked at it, you got a whole page, and then you got 2 pages, then you got 3 pages.
And
Then you kind of go then you kind of go back and you're like, oh Lord, now what am I gonna do with all this?
And when I think about it, it's like when about 2 months ago, when I got the proof copy, or about a month or so ago, when I got the proof copy in, and to see the hard copy, I was actually shocked. I said, wow. When I think about my life and wanting to be, I always said I wanted to write a book. I never knew how I would do it, what type of book I would write. But as time went on, I knew I would write a children's book. And so when I think about going into so many different classes over the past several weeks, talking about the book, because reading to kids is something I've been doing for the past 20 years since I was a freshman in college. And so when I think about kids and being in their presence, it's been so much fun that I can actually go to a school. I don't have to pull books from some random person or some author that I found, like I like a book. It's like I can take my own book. And then I've told the kids, this is the beginning of a brand new book series. So Jeremiah and Madison are going to go on so many adventures. You're going to learn so many different things from them. So it's been a lot of fun. And I just want to encourage people, if you want to be an author, you should do it. I consulted with so many people along the journey. DeCorey Hale in Sylacauga. Yeah. And speaking of DeCorey, I have a copy of his book, and I've taken his book to read to some of the schools here in Chattanooga. So periodically, I keep different books in my collection. Eunice Elliott, who is a former news anchor in Birmingham, I have her book here. I've taken her book to classes and read. So it's all about, helping each other, motivating each other. And so I'm so grateful that they have motivated me. And so I've turned around and motivated other people.
Awesome. Now, are you planning on continuing? How many, do you have a certain goal that you're trying to reach as far as writing your books, or how are you going by doing that?
I will say this. I have not said this on any interview, but the book number 2 is coming out this fall.
Got you.
There's more to come.
Got you. Let me ask you this here. Got a question here. Who do you trust for objective or constructive criticism of your work?
That's a good question. I've consulted with friends. I have consulted with friends with kids. Because kids are going to be honest. They're going to tell you if they like something, if they don't like it.
You ain't joking.
And these kids read this book before there were illustrations, Grover. So
wow.
To get their feedback before illustrations and they like it, and then to see the illustrations, like Donald did like an amazing job with the illustrations. And I can flip open. I can show you here. Like this is the family in the book.
Okay.
So they're at breakfast in chapter 1. Or even because I'm a band, I have to show you this right here. When I was looking at chapter 3, there's a teacher actually in chapter 2. I can show you this. Just how vivid he did these images, and he's so the colors are so vibrant. So I have a teacher here.
Exactly.
So, and I will show you one more. I had to add a band because I was in the band when I was in high school. So of course we Alabama State University marching band stopped by the school. So he just did an amazing job and so talented, amazing. Somebody asked me, they said, have you ever met Donald? Actually, my publicist asked me this the other day. She says, have you met Donald? I said, I've never met him in person. So he'll be in Chattanooga this weekend for some events, a book signing. So we'll get to meet each other face to face. I trusted him because I felt his energy, his, a man of faith, a family man. He was just so encouraging, so motivating. And on top of that, one of my friends that's a news anchor in Columbia, South Carolina, highly recommended him. And he has not disappointed me at one turn. He's always just delivered beyond my imagination.
Awesome. We have someone on here that's new to the channel. Look like Our Brand TV said, hello, Greg. So you
Hey.
actually have a big shout out there. And once again, I want to announce to everyone that's on here, we are interviewing no other than Brother Gregory Funderburg, the profound author and news anchor. And guys, he's an outstanding individual. If you guys have any questions, feel free. We're not going to continue to hold him up any longer because he definitely have to get prepared for an early start on tomorrow. Now, just a couple more questions, and we gonna make sure that you get off and get your rest. Um, Now, how can people reach out to you if they would like to have you to come out to speak at any kind of engagement or anything like that?
A couple of different things. I will say this. You can go to gregfunderburg.com. There's a Jeremiah's New Beginning page. And on that page, you can link over to all the places where you can buy the book, like Amazon, Books A Million, Barnes & Noble, Apple Books, and there's one more. But anyway, you can go there and have a link over to all those places where you can buy the book. And the book is globally distributed around the world. So it was really crazy for me, Grover, to see my book on bookstores in Canada and Australia and so many other countries. And so it's just, God has just truly just blessed me in so many ways, because my vision was only just to publish this on Amazon and be done. But God has just showed out and just done some other things. So I just want to tell people that if you like me to come speak at your school, your church, your organization, go to my website, gregfunderburg.com, click on the contact page, and someone on my team will get back with you and we'll check my calendar. And I will say that when I say team, I said this back home over the weekend when I was home, and one of my cousins says team. And I've learned that I have tried to do things all by myself, and it's impossible at this point. And so I just can't. So I have people that have, helped me and things like that. So I can set something up on my calendar. Also, if you like to buy a bulk order of books, like if you want to buy books for a classroom, there is a discounted rate. You can go to that same website, gregfunderburg.com, click on the contact page, and you can send a message and say, hey, my name is such and such. I am with this organization or with this school, and I would like to purchase a bulk order of the books. Or if you're just a random person and you want to be a blessing to a school in your area or any school, you can also go to that contact page and say, hey, I just want to make a donation of X amount of dollars and donate books to some schools. And so you can do that as well. So I've been so fortunate, Grover, so blessed. My first week that I went out to schools, US Express here in Chattanooga, a big company, they donated money to buy books for every single student I went to for the first week of my tour. So every student, every classroom I went to that first week, every kid in the class got the book Jeremiah's New Beginning.
Wow. That wasn't nothing but God. That was nothing but God. And you can tell when he favors you, man, when he has favor over your life and the things that he has in store for you. I don't care what nobody do. They cannot block it. They cannot block it. And you have been an example, and I am just delighted. I mean, I don't know what else to say, man. I mean, I had Greg on my YouTube channel.
I just want to say I was honored, and I was going to say this earlier when we were talking about faith. When I was in my job in Greenville, South Carolina, and I always tell people, you don't have to like push your faith on people.
Absolutely.
I truly believe that if you live and carry yourself a certain way, people can see your spiritual life on you without you having to, put it out there like that. And so I always share this story with people. When I was in South Carolina, one of my former coworkers was going through a difficult time. She was depressed. She was sad. And because I carried myself in a certain way, I'll never forget this. She was going through a tough time, and she called me and she says, hey, I'm Catholic. I haven't prayed in years. I have not gone to mass in years. But because of the way you carry yourself, it made me want to flip open my Bible and say a prayer.
Wow.
So I always stress to people, you don't have to like push your faith on someone. You don't have to do any of that. As long as you're walking like Jesus and carrying yourself in that light and carrying yourself with positivity, people will see who you are. And that will just ooze out to other people. And so just by me carrying myself the way I do without pushing things on people, she came to me and said, you know what? I picked up my Bible, I prayed, and I felt so much better. And so I just want to encourage people to, live every day like you are just in your regular spiritual life, and people will pick up on it. They pick up on energy quick.
That's right. And see, I guarantee you some of the people that's in here right now probably saying, oh, you talking his talk. You talking. Yeah. Because see, believe it or not, Greg, I had, some criticism about me in our, lives and videos that we do, our content that we create, that no matter how much fun we're having in making our content or, doing a live, for some reason, it tends to always veer toward a word of encouragement spiritually, on a spiritual level, to help try to live somebody's day. And believe it or not, it was criticized. And it really made me step back, and it showed me, in order for you to follow Christ, you got to be able to have that thick skin. Because once you begin to do that, if you want to get enemies for real, or if you want to run people off, you go to testifying for the Lord. Or if you go to, even like what you said, I ain't got to push it out on nobody. I don't have to force it on you at all. It's the way you carry yourself. It's how you present yourself, the life that you live. It speaks for itself. Yeah. And even with the interview that you and I are doing right now, yes, we've witnessed to each other off and on, but I can assure you, the presence of God's anointing can be felt over this live just by someone looking at it or listening. Yeah. Because when the Lord is present, you can't help but feel it. It is what it is. And it ain't, and people got to understand too, Greg, the Lord being present does not mean it's always jumping out your seat or hollering and screaming. It's in a silent way a lot of times, where you connecting, I'm connecting, someone is watching this live is connecting, and there it is. The things that you're saying, the things that's being said, that's what people can resonate with.
And one thing I've learned is, people are going to always have something to say, but you got to keep going. You got to keep pushing. And, being on a digital platform, it can be tough because you have to go in some areas and talk about some things that, people may not feel comfortable about. And I remember when I was in South Carolina as a young reporter, I remember I did this story about, I forgot what it was about, but I interviewed an atheist. And I remember I put it on my fan page, and people were like, oh, I plead the blood of Jesus on this person and blah, 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 blah. So, the way I look at it is, there are so many different people out there. Everyone has a story.
That's right.
And I feel like it is so important that you're able to see someone's side.
Absolutely.
You may think differently than them, but listen to where they come. If you would take a moment and sit down and just hush and listen, you may learn something. And so that is what I stress to people all the time, because people are so quick to criticize people. And in that interview, I listened to this person, and they were talking about why they feel the way they do. And I said, okay. And I understood. But at the end of the day, people may say, well, why didn't you take that time to minister? I did take the time. I listened to the person.
There you go.
My energy and my faith is going to be with me everywhere I go, because I carry that energy. And so sometimes some people may pick up on it right then and there, and sometimes they may not. But you never know. They may circle back around and say, you know what? We had a conversation and you talked about X, Y, and Z, because this has happened to me in my life. We talked about X, Y, and Z, and I thought about it. And I said, you know what? I want to go back to church. I want to do this. And it may not happen right then, because what you want to happen right now. But if you allow yourself to open yourself up to listen to someone who thinks differently, you may learn something, and you may also touch their heart and change them, and may encourage them to do something else. But that's on them. But you have to organically allow that to happen, not force it on someone.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's what happened with the young lady in Pell City. I was there and I ran into her in the grocery store, and I give a shout out to her right now. And my heart goes out to her and her husband and her family. They lost their daughter to a drug overdose, and it was dealing with some issues, and there was a battle that she was fighting. And, just listening at her, she turned around and come back to me. We was actually looking at strawberries, and this woman come back, and to be honest with you, if I have looked at her, I thought she wouldn't even want to even speak to me. And she come back and began to talk to me and just open up to me.
Wow.
And once I opened my mouth and the Lord began to speak through me, it was like she just poured out her heart at that point. And, unfortunately, she lost her daughter at a early age to a drug overdose. And I want to mention the type of the drug of choice by the respect of the parents, but it was a drug overdose, and it was definitely a heartbreaking situation for them. And, it just goes to show you people are going through so much, and sometimes it just takes people just listening. Just listen. Don't be so quick to try to throw your faith off on them or try to criticize what's going on with them. Just listen. That's all it is. And man, I tell you, man, you've said some strong, powerful things. You've been an encouragement to me as well. My wife is sitting on the other side there, and you've been encouraging to her because I watch her as her head is going back and forth. And I mean, you are a big, big inspiration, very big inspiration. And I commend you on that. 37 years old, a young Black news anchor and author, and a man of strong faith. Man, man.
And I push that, and I tell people all the time, just take a moment and listen. Listening is so fundamental. A lot of people don't like to listen. A lot of times, when it comes to parenting, and you're a parent, as your kids become teenagers and adults, and Oprah said this not so long ago in an interview, she and Gail, when kids get to be the 20s, 30s, they're not looking for you to be a parent. They're looking for you to kind of be a consultant. And so I encourage parents, because I have so many friends and they talk about different, like I've seen parents, some of my friends here in Chattanooga, they talk to their kids about virtually anything. And I'm looking at them like in private afterwards, and I'm thinking, your kids talk to you about like just anything. And they're like, yeah, I want my kids to come about anything. And, and I tell people it's so important that parents allow their kids to be authentically themselves and allow them to come and tell you openly how they are feeling, what's going on, because I would rather for kids to get the advice and get the information from a parent because they've been around the block.
Exactly.
And so many parents don't have that. They don't have that relationship with their kids to allow them to open up and without judgment. And so it's so important that you open yourself up at a certain point and kind of be like a consultant and a parent. And you have to judge that time. Like, when am I consulting? And you just take a moment and listen and don't react. And then give some advice and talk about what you've gone through in your life. Because, that's how we move forward and we don't make the same mistakes generation after generation. So if daddy can sit down with son and say, hey, I made this mistake when I was your age, you should do this. Or mama can say, I made this mistake when I was doing this or when I was dating or whatever. Think about how far we can get as a people to move forward so we don't make those same mistakes generation after generation after generation. Because I'm going to tell you this, Grover, a lot of people, and I'll be open and honest about it. I talk to my parents about some things, but I don't talk to my parents about everything because I never was raised in a house or raised that I felt that I could be open and honest and talk to my parents about everything. And so, and that's okay because, they come from a different generation. Yep. And so it's so important that, I just encourage parents to just learn to listen to kids and allow them to be their authentic selves. And you'll be amazed at the information and the conversations you can have with your children and the relationship and being able to tell, like I think about my grandmothers and how I had these candid conversations with them. And I remember my grandmother gave me some amazing advice about something one time. And she was just open and honest about what she had gone through. And had she not have been in a space where she could listen and receive what I was telling her, I wouldn't have gotten the information that I need. So I know that my grandmother went through this, and I don't want to make the same mistake because she gave me some amazing advice.
Awesome, awesome. And then, and I definitely, for some reason, it hit my spirit just then. I want to, basically reach out, just like he was speaking earlier about mental illness, pretty much basically what it boils down to: mental exhaustion, spiritual exhaustion. If there's anybody in this chat and you know that you're dealing with such things such as that, reach out, do your research, try to open up to someone that you know that you can trust, someone that you know you can depend on to help you through this. Mm-hmm. Because like you said, a lot of people, we are holding a lot of anxiety, pain inside, and we are trying to deal with this internally. And all of this is just balled all up, and we're smiling, we're walking around, all because you're able to afford anything you want, all because you're able to wear the finest clothes and have the nicest job. You've assessed to that. You've been a witness to that tonight. You've shown I'm successful, but I've broken down too. I've been broken.
And the sad thing is that I've noticed, especially in my industry, being in the television news, I have seen so many young people who are taking their lives every single day. So I just want to plead. I'm yelling from the hilltops. Listen to your children. Listen to your nieces and nephews. Sit down with them. Talk to them. And come from a space of love. Don't come from a space of being judgmental. Just listen and open up and talk. Give them advice. I remember when I was a kid your age, I was going through this, because I'm going to tell you something. When you open that door to be open and honest and have candid conversations, those kids, those teenagers, those young adults are going to keep coming back to you for advice. And just think about that, Grover, how that's going to change not only the kids, but it's going to change a whole generation, because it's so important that we open the door to have those conversations with people. And, just be open and honest, because listen, that's like Kendra Production says, listen with love, because
Absolutely.
you don't know what people are going through. So many people going through so much hurt, and they may be going to you for advice, and they may come to you and you may pop off at the mouth and say, oh, I plead the blood of Jesus on you. I'm going to pray for you. They're not asking for that. They're
Absolutely.
asking for you to listen. And at a point in the conversation, you can, let's pray. And you can pray. But listen. Listening is so fundamental. Even if somebody has a different political view from you, just listen. You never know what you can learn.
That's absolutely right, man. That's absolutely right. Because see, a lot of times, if you attack a person right off the top in a spiritual way of things, it could be humiliating. It could make them feel as if you're trying to criticize my spiritual connection with God. You're basically saying, that I don't have, and that's not what it is. Because see, I know I got a strong faith, but I've broken down. Broken down. And, I've talked to my mom at times. I've talked to my dad at times. But see, a lot of times we came up old school way. I mean, and it was just, Dad have always taught us to be strong. To be strong, don't show no sign of weakness. And see, I've had to somewhat back up off of that and reconstruct that thing, even with dealing with my kids. Because I have an older son that's 24, and he go through his things, and I have one that's 21. So I have to find some kind of way of being able to connect with them on a level of such what you're saying, where they're able to open up and say, Daddy, I need to talk to you. And Daddy is able to listen from a standpoint of knowing he's listening with, like what Kendra said, listening with love. He's not listening to criticize me. And so,
and the other thing I want to tell you, you know, so many kids are so different. And it's so important that parents realize that, you know, the oldest kid number one, number two, number three, whatever, they're all going to be different. And so you have to find something as a parent that your kid likes. So when I think about my siblings, my older brother played sports. He was in the football. That's what he loved to do. My middle brother, Chris, he loves sports and things like that. I came along, I guess everybody thought I was going to be the sports person too. Like my older brother, Daytron and Chris, I came along, didn't want to play sports. And I remember my dad was like, you don't want to play football? You don't want to play basketball? That wasn't what I wanted to do. But I was in band. I like theater. I like the arts and music. And so every kid is going to be different. So I want to stress to parents watching this that, you know, find something you can do with each one of your kids. Because one kid may want to go to the NFL game, but the other kid may want to go to a theater performance. So you got to find a way that you can take some time and connect with each kid. Because I learned this in an interview recently that is so important for parents, aunts, and uncles to find a way you can connect with them, even though, you know, you may have something completely different. And the crazy thing about it is, you know, you may not like theater, you may not like an opera, you may not like whatever, but you will enjoy the cultural experience, number one. And number two, you got that connection with the kid. That's the most important thing.
Absolutely. And Greg, I want to commend you once again for coming up on the panel tonight. All the information you have provided, along with expressing your faith and as well as showing us about your book. I want to congratulate you. Congratulate you. And I am so appreciative of you taking out this time to come on and talk with us tonight. And I really do appreciate you from the bottom of my heart. Want to appreciate you. So all of you that's out there, once again, this is Mr. Gregory Funderburg Jr., and he is a profound author and news anchor of News Channel 9 in Chattanooga, Tennessee. If you guys would love to reach out to him, we'll definitely make sure we get all of his information listed in the description box. My wife would do all the writing parts. She's the editor, so she'll get all that stuff put in there. But we're going to make sure we get all of this information in here for you. And once again, I want to shout out right quick. My daughter just popped in here. Now, apparently she's been watching from the bushes. She's up on the Lola Embry right there. So that's my daughter. She's actually in Georgia. She goes to Kennesaw State. And she's a junior there at Kennesaw State out there. So
she's right down the road from Chattanooga.
Yeah, sure is. So I appreciate her for being in here. And also, guys, I want to appreciate all of you guys for being in here. It was wonderful. I'm always big on it's not about the number of people that's in here. It's about who's in here. Because who's ever in here, that who was in God's plan. That's who God meant to be in here. So I don't worry about the number of people. I just worry about the fact that who was helped at that present moment. And we really appreciate the message also coming from Brother Funderburg with such inspiration. So once again, I'm not going to continue to hold you up. I know you got to get an early morning start in the morning, but if you will stay tuned, I'll end this and I'll speak with you behind stage just here shortly. Guys, I want to appreciate you guys once again for being on EFE Squad Live. And we have Mr. Gregory Funderburg present with us tonight, a great, profound author and news anchor. Once again, you guys make sure that you do not forget to share this video out. Give us a big thumbs up. And if you guys want to reach out to Mr. Greg for any particular reason, please feel free. We will have the information in the description box for you to do so. So until the next time, guys, we are out of here. We want you to pray. Don't forget to pray, because prayer changes things. You feel me? Until the next time, we're out. Peace.